Welcome to Bay Area Sports Report, and welcome to day 2 of the 49ers training camp. We will go over all the injuries that have been going on, which I am not happy about. We will also be going over players who have been very impressive, and along with some competition. So let's get right into it. So for first, for the injuries that I have just mentioned, Romello Height was carted off the field at the end of practice. However, the injury is not serious, so it's really cramps. But it's not just Romello Height who has been injured lately. As I said, Christian Kirk, who's also injured, who could be out for a little while. He could possibly be cut from the team, possibly, which is not exactly a good thing for me because I mean, I mean, this at least opens up to someone I will get into to get the third spot, but I'm really not so sure. But I would love if Kirk was stay on the team, but he just hasn't been healthy, and I wouldn't like that. But Darian Lowe, who is also out, is also been injured lately. He was at 6-man swing tackles. Hopefully he gets better. But Enriquez Cruz Jr., who they highlighted yesterday, was really good, as they mentioned earlier. So at least he is very solid. So I think that is very good for the team, especially for a swing tackle. And then because you have, I think overall for the 49ers, you can see that they still have some good tackles. I think one of them is Austin Pleasance, who has been a solid tackle here for the team, as he's been very good. Austin Pleasance, I would love because he's been a very good player. He did very well when Trent Williams was down, and he was solid. I mean, he wasn't the best left tackle. Trust me, I had some issues with him when he allowed some pressures, but he had a solid job. So either way, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind that because it's very deep. Along with the receiver core, it's also very deep. With like I did mention, like Cowing was also there. There's Wesley Grimes, who has been highlighted a lot by a lot of people lately. So there's a lot of good receivers in the depth. There's also Alfred Collins, who's still out. Also, there's also still George Kittle. There's still also Michael Williams. Now there's Grayson Halton with a um bruised bone on his knee, which is kind of a concern. I love Grayson Halton. He was one of my favorite picks in the draft video I made. He was one of the probably the my favorite steals along with Willis and Prysock. He's been one of my favorite players. But I think it is still fine because we still have some good defensive tackles. There's still Kevin Givens. You can bring back Evan Anderson back. You have Sebastian Valdez, who's been very highlighted lately, who's been very good at getting pressures. So overall, these injuries have been issues, and it is a bit concerning. Don't get me wrong, because they have not been staying healthy for some reason. And I'm starting to get a bit of a feeling that it's a substation, and I don't believe in these kind of conspiracy theories for some reason. I don't believe in those, but I'm just saying, like, it's not exactly the best situation right now for the 49ers, but I feel like they'll get better. I think a lot of these are, like, deep. Offensive line is kind of deep. The wide receiver room is kind of deep. The defensive tackle room is deep. So overall, I really don't think it's a bit of a huge concern, but I think it is a little bit to worry on, especially for other players. But next is some of the competitions I'm going through next. Let's start off with the left guard position, as that's been talking about. It looks like um Connor Colby is looking like the possible starting left guard, which I guess I can understand. I mean, he was solid, but I really don't like that they're putting him this. I would love it if Carver Willis would go in this position, but if Trent Williams believes him, Trent Williams has been very hot at Connor Colby from year 1 to year 2 as a big leap. And I think it's kind of a bit encouraging to see that for a left tackle who's been in the NFL and who's been one of the best for a while. I mean, he is decreasing a little bit for Trent Williams, and hopefully the Niners next year will finally draft an offensive lineman. Hopefully, I am hoping that, but um, it has been. But I think if Connor Colby shows some promise as like the left guard position and the right and the as the in the left guard position where he is good at pass blocking and run blocking, then I think this could be solid and a cheap deal, so that way you don't have to like pay for like a left guard for later. I mean, we'll have to see if this turns out very well. There's still Robert Jones. We'll see how this goes. I would still love if Carter Willis is there, but so far he's getting like reps at left guard. He's also getting reps at center, so we'll see what happens that deals with Brett Toth. So it looks like that's kind of a battle there too. But I feel like Brett Toth might win this because Carter Willis hasn't been center that much. He's been more left guard in his tape, so. Yeah. Anywho, linebacker so far, I love this that Nick Martin, who has been very highlighted so far, Nick Martin, he was not playing for a while, but he is now starting to get a lot of talk so far. Nick Martin so far, and I like that he is starting to get involved into that Sam position. He like last year he didn't play it a lot. He only had 8 solo tackles, but he did have one forced fumble, which I'm very awesome by him. But this is absolutely a huge deal for Nick Martin. I love Nick Martin. Speed, muscle, energy ball. In his speed with Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner in that Sam position. And we still got a lot of good players at the linebacker position. Tatum Bethune, solid tackler, still needs to work on his coverage. I think his run defense is good. Jane Duggar, still a developmental project. Luke Gifford's just like a special team guy. I think over Luke, comparing this to Luke Gifford to Nick Martin, I think this is a huge upgrade. Because when I was watching Luke Gifford play, I didn't like it, not one bit, because he was not good in that Sam linebacker. He's the reason why we lost that Rams game. I mean, sure, I mean some of the run defense is an issue, but mostly because of the linebackers. Like D Winners, I don't think there was like no problem with him. I think he was solid, but I think Luke Gifford, he was the big piece on why we lost that game. So I'm glad this is a huge upgrade, and I think these guys that are going to have to run. I think Nick Martins just needs to stay healthy, just like Drake Greenlaw and Fred Warner do. But if as long as these three stay healthy, this could be a good trio of fast, energetic linebackers who just tackle on the running backs and receivers and tight ends and match up man to man. I think this is very great. Next is Renardo Green and Jack Jones. This is a very interesting one as they're fighting right now. They've been off to a great training camp so far for the first 2 days so far. It's been great to see Jack Jones, but he's more of that training camp body. I mean, he's good and he's one of the best zone coverage cornerbacks I've seen so far since watching football. Ronaldo Green has been one of my favorite guys. I really don't understand what the deal is on trading him. I think he did mess up on that play, and trust me, I was a bit mad, but he's just young, and you need to give him time. You can't just say that, oh, he messed up, and now he needs to get traded now. Like you can't just go do you can't just say that after one play he's like, oh, he's trash, so let's just trade him. You can't just say that. You have to give him a lot of time on that. That's what you gave with Deommodore Lenoir. You gave him lots of time. He made some mistakes. A lot of people didn't like him back then, but more time, he started to become one of the best underrated cornerbacks. So I think with more time for Ronaldo Green and Upton Stout even, like sure, Upton Stout had a great season, but I think he still needs a lot to improve, especially on how short he is. It's 5'10". Especially the workouts I've seen from him. He really takes care of his body very well, so it's awesome to see that. So I think Ronaldo Green wins this QB2. I think Jack Jones is more better at this, but I think he's a solid veteran guy with Nate Hobbs and Prysock to be, along with Features Prysock, who was selected to maybe just come in as a replacement just in case if there isn't possible injury. Next is the safety position, as keeps on going on and on. There hasn't been anything highlighting on Ashley Davis so far, so there's nothing much. But Marquis Siegel, Jair Brown, and Malik Mustafa, they're all fine for this. I feel like Malik Mustafa, like I said, is safe. I think he's safe. Jair Brown got a pick against Brock Purdy. So it looks like this will be a battle between Marcus Siegel and Jai Brown. And I would love if Siegel played because I think he's a solid safety. I think he has some good coverage. I mean, he has okay coverage. He gets some picks. I think he would be a great player for the 49ers, and I would love it if he was there. But if Jair takes like a big leap and he like be better at coverage, he gets a lot of picks, then I say that let's just keep him. So I wouldn't mind that. That is if he could step up. So that's all I'm asking for him. And then finally, the one rookie that I mentioned, Dejon Stribling. Ever since Christian Kirk got injured, Dejon Stribling has been very good lately. He's been doing very good on passes. He's been doing good and getting connections with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. And I like that. Along with players like Ricky Pearsall, which are very good as Ricky Pearsall and Mike Evans, along with those two. I think it's a great thing that on what Dejon Stribling. You see a lot of that. You still have Demarcus Robinson. You still see Jordan Watkins back there. You see Wesley Grimes. I think this is a great thing for Dejon Stribling. I know that Shanahan doesn't use rookies that much, but I think this is just a great opportunity to use Dejon Stribling now. He's fast. He's a solid route runner. He's very physical. He has an NFL ready body. He's just a great player. He was one of my favorite receivers. I think he was like 15th or 16th in my draft prospect board. I think he's one of the most underrated picks that we have so far. And I think he's really stepping up to it. He's learning a lot. Brock Purdy is starting to like him. And I think he's a solid player. I think Mike Evans, Pearsall, and Stribling, they really highlighted day 2 of training camp. Mike Evans had a sad training camp as he was kind of struggling, but it's mostly because the Niners are using him a lot as that deep threat, and he's not that anymore. As I watched him earlier, because when I was watching his highlights, as when I was watching him, he was kind of a deep threat when he was like 20, when he was first drafted to like 28 or 29, and then now that he's entered like 30, he's more that possession receiver now. So he's not good. So he is that X receiver, but he's more that guy who's gonna be doing in routes, slants, drags, zig routes. Like he's gonna be that guy who just does that. While with Pearsall and Dejon Stribling, those guys are gonna be like deep guys, like um, posts, and a lot of deep routes, deep in routes, deep out routes. Even I think they're more of those guys where they are very deep. So I would love it if they use Stribling. I know Shanahan doesn't use rookies for whatever reason, for some reason, but I would love it if he was on that starting 3, and I think it would work very well with when George Kittle comes back, or even when Jake Tonjes is here. Like I highlighted him here. Jake Tonjes is just like a great player in my view. Even if George Kittle doesn't come back week 1 against the Rams, I don't care. So overall, I think he's doing a very good job. Another player I want to mention is Kalen Black, who has been very good. But so far right now, Jordan James is the RB2 right now. But I could see Kalen Black, if he keeps this up, he could possibly maybe steal that RB2 job from Jordan James. I could see that possibly happening. But as for right now for Shanahan, like I mentioned, he is right now feeling okay right now. Yesterday he appeared 30 minutes with John Lynch, and then now today he's appearing with John Lynch. So it's very encouraging to see him out there with the team. He did the ball was throwing at his direction, which is kind of concerning after being in a car crash. But it says like he was okay, so I'm glad on that. So overall, this day 2 of training camp was very interesting. A lot was highlighted on a little bit of the offense, a little bit of the defense, a little bit of a bad day for the quarterbacks. They threw a lot of like incompletes and interceptions, which has not been very good, including Curtis Rourke, who threw some interceptions to Eli Apple, which is a bit of a disappointment, but which kind of shows because Mac Jones was possibly going to get traded. That is only if Chris Rourke turns out to be good, and so far this isn't looking, so they may keep him. So, but we'll have to see. This is only day 2. There's no pads yet, so we'll have to see. But seeing Dejon Stribling and Nick Martin and some of these other young players who are getting mentioned, I think it's very encouraging. And even though there are no pads, it's very encouraging to see veterans commenting on how good they're doing so far. And then the last thing I want to mention is Vita Vea has requested a trade from the 49ers. I mean, requested a trade from the Bucks, sorry. As it shows here, Vita Vea, a native of California, would like to return to the West Coast with the San Francisco 49ers, being one of 13's per Ted Nagoyan, which he's been reliable, but at the same time, not at the same time. Vita, 31, requested a trade out of Tampa amid a contract dispute, and San Francisco could pursue a deal for the standout defensive tackle. I wouldn't mind this, mostly because the D tackle, I think it would be very awesome to see this very good lineup of Collins, Osa, West, Halton, and Vita. I think it would be awesome to see Nick, Osa, Michael, and Vita Vea on there. But at the same time, it's also an issue, though. Because on the one hand, it would be like, because I really don't know how this is going to fit, because you have Alfred Collins, you have Osadike Zua, you have CJ West, you have Grayson Halton. They're all 4 of those guys are going to be so good, much good players. If it was like if Matt Johnson was asking out for like a trade to like, let's say, barrier teams, I would love it. I would do it. I would trade just all my first round picks for him, because that's all I would do, because Shanahan, like I said, has not been good on drafting. But I just don't see it happening. But who knows? Maybe they could trade Alfred Collins away, maybe. I mean, it does pain me to see that, especially after you just traded him. But, I mean, Vita Vea overall, he's been a solid player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's kind of surprising that he would. I thought he would stay. But, especially on Tampa's now falling apart. He had 4.5 sacks last season. Not the best season he had so far. Last year he had 7 sacks, but he's been such a solid run defender. He's 31 right now. I really don't know. But overall, I would just stick with the defensive tackle group that I have, because I feel like the edge is more the issue here right now, because you have Nick Bosa, who's looking good right now. Romello Height, who just got cramps. We don't know how he's doing. He's been having a rough 2 days of training camp, so hopefully he can get back on track. Cam Sample, you have Sam Okuwanu, you have Keon White, so it's not exactly the best edge group so far, and hopefully Mike Hale can come back, but I put him in the physically unable to perform list. So it's an issue to see this happening for the 49ers, but I feel like the edge needs more help than this defensive tackle. So, in my view, as a fan perspective and a GM perspective, I would not want to do it. I would just go after edges like Kayvon Thibodeau, like I mentioned, or Alex Highsmith, or Josh Sweat, or Max Crosby, or sign edges like Jadeveon Clowney and Joey Bosa, who's been a very popular thing. So overall, 49ers day 2 of training camp is interesting. So we'll see how this goes. Make sure to like and subscribe, and comment down below on what you think of day 2 of training camp. And this is Bay Area Sports Report signing off.